What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Alex Pereira has too much respect for Magomed following loss? Throughout UFC history, we've seen fighters like Khabib Nurmagomedov find success on the feet thanks to the threat of the takedown. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. The way Dan Hardy sees things, the first time Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev fought, Pereira had too much respect for Ankalaev and his wrestling. During a recent interview with Helen Yee ahead of the Ankalaev-Pereira 2 fight next month, Hardy weighed in. I think maybe he had a little bit too much respect for Ankalaev in the last fight. I also think he wasn't quite sure which hand Ankalaev was going to play. Ankalaev is very confident as a striker. His wrestling has always been a backup in his game, and he's never particularly wanted to use it too much. But just the idea of it being there, the threat, it seemed to make Pereira kind of hesitate a little too much. Pereira, when he's at that close range, either when you're coming to him, like when Strickland fought him, Strickland was walking into his range, or when someone's moving away and he's walking into their range, like Jamal Hill, you feel that pressure of his kind of frame coming at you and people feel like they need to react. Ahead of the rematch, Pereira is already back in Vegas. During a recent video for his YouTube channel, the former champion gave fans a tour of the house he and his teammate will be staying at. The same house Team Pereira stayed in before his UFC 300 fight with Jamal Hill. Whether Pereira is able to replicate his UFC 300 performance and reclaim his title, only time will tell. Sean O'Malley interested in Cory Sandhagen fight at UFC White House. Dana White has big plans for the UFC's 2026 card at the White House, but as it stands right now, there are no American-born champions to headline. That could change in a few weeks, however, when Cory Sandhagen steps into the octagon with Merab Dvalishvili. According to Sean O'Malley, if Sandhagen winds up winning the title, a fight between the two makes sense for the UFC's White House card next summer. During a recent video for his YouTube channel, O'Malley threw out the idea.
Yeah, so who main events that? I definitely would absolutely love to be on that card. God, Cory versus Merab, I'm so curious, dude. I'm so curious how that fight plays out. But the White House card, yeah, I mean, Cory goes out there, wins, I beat whoever's next. That's interesting. That could be, but regardless, I want to fight within the next 4 or 5 months, whatever it is. So and then I'll also be ready for that because they said it could be June. Could be International Fight Week, said it could be July. So if I can get one in early next year, end of this year, one of the two, count me in. I want to be on that card.
Of course, considering O'Malley's on a 2-fight skid, he'll have to get back in the win column before he's in a position to call for a crack at the belt. Charles Oliveira not interested in fighting Mateusz Gamrot? The upcoming UFC Rio card was supposed to be Charles Oliveira's opportunity to get back in the win column after his recent loss to Ilia Topuria. But now, Oliveira has been left opponentless after the withdrawal of Rafael Fiziev. Following a big victory over Jean Silva on the Noche UFC card, Diego Lopez has now offered to step in on short notice to fight Oliveira at 155, even though he'd have to go up a weight class. During an interview with Leiter Viana, he explained, "Sure, why not? Of course I'd do it. Especially because Charles is a legend of the sport in Brazil. I'll never turn down any fight. If the UFC thinks I'm the guy to fight him and calls me, definitely yes. I wouldn't think twice. We just won a fight, and we're in a good position to fight for the belt. So I wouldn't ask for that. I've talked to my manager, we want the featherweight belt, but if the UFC calls us like, we need you, of course, let's go, no problem at all." Lopez is not the only fighter saying that he'd step in on short notice to fight Oliveira. Joaquim Silva, who also picked up a win on the Noche UFC card, offered his services during an interview with MMA Fighting. "To be quite honest, I'm ready. I'd fight because it's a great opportunity. Charles is an idol for everybody, but this is our job. I need to work. He also needs to work. If this opportunity was presented to me, I already told my manager that I'm ready. I'd fight him. I'd make weight, but I know there are a lot of people ahead of me. Big names. Many people on long winning streaks at lightweight, but if the offer was made, I'd definitely do it. It would be an honor to fight Charles in Rio de Janeiro." Another name in the mix is Mateusz Gamrot, who's been calling for the shot on Twitter. Since then, Gamrot has sent a message to Charles Oliveira and his team, writing, "I hear you're worried about my style, even though you had a full training camp. I had none. And still, I'm ready to step into the cage. 2 weeks left to prepare, and I'm already an ATT right here. No excuses. Let's do this, DuBronx." He even went as far as saying that Charles is afraid of him by writing, "The Lion holds the record for the most ground finishes in the UFC history. He's afraid to step in with a grappler," while also posting a picture of him holding a duck next to Charles. Well, it looks like Charles responded to Gamrot in an interview with Leiter Viana, where he basically said that he's been training for a striker like Fiziev this whole camp, and with 2 weeks left, switching to a grappler like Gamrot isn't fair. Charles said, "So I was focused on a guy who comes from a striking background, a striker who defends takedowns. So let's put it this way, with 2 weeks to go until the fight, I have to change my whole game plan. All of that is very complicated, okay? It's very complicated. So I don't want to be taken off the card. I asked for this card. I've been training like crazy for it, but in reality, you have to understand, if they offer me a guy nobody knows, how am I supposed to fight a match like that? It's completely different styles. It's a good matchup for me in a sense because he's a grappler, but it's completely different from the style I've been training for the last month or two. It's about understanding and game planning. With the card just a few weeks away, expect an announcement from the UFC sooner rather than later. UFC updates. Heading into the upcoming UFC Perth card this weekend, let's take a look at today's UFC updates, starting with a fight between Vicente Luque and Joel Alvarez, which is reportedly in the works for the UFC Rio card on October 11th, following the withdrawal of Santiago Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio had initially been scheduled to fight Luque. However, he's been forced out of the fight with an undisclosed injury, and according to Alvaro Cormanero, Alvarez is in talks to step in. Next up, we got a new addition to the UFC Qatar card on November 22nd, with Marek Bujlo set to fight Jose Luis. This fight will see both fighters look to pick up wins in their UFC debuts after impressing on the regional scene. Khalil Rountree Jr. is widely considered to be one of the best kickboxers in the UFC's light heavyweight division, but clearly Rountree isn't done sharpening that knife. How so? Well, ahead of Rountree Jr.'s October 4th UFC 320 fight with Jiri Prochazka, he's been training with Jonathan Haggerty. Haggerty is a ridiculously decorated kickboxer who currently holds ONE's bantamweight kickboxing title, and he's also held the promotion's Muay Thai flyweight and bantamweight titles. As the Home of Fight X post also noted, Prochazka is known for possessing nasty elbows, so Haggerty could provide some guidance in preparing for that. And here's some news that is turning a lot of heads. Due to recent footage Ronda Rousey shared out and comments she made, there's buzz about the former UFC champion possibly making a comeback. Rousey posted footage of her hitting pads, and in the initial footage, it was clear she was struggling. But in subsequent footage she posted on IG, Rousey was looking more like her former self. Here's some of what she had to say about the videos. From 8 weeks after having a baby and 8 years of stepping away from MMA to 8 months postpartum and finding my love for it again, the first clip is my first session working with AJ MMA. I was super self-conscious, embarrassed of how much I regressed, and honestly trying my very best not to pee my pants throwing punches so soon after having the baby. Second clip was yesterday. I've never laughed or smiled so much on the mat as I do these days. The last 6 months have been an absolute blast. Feels like I have so much left to grow, and without the weight of the world on my shoulders, nothing is holding me back. After Rousey walked away from fighting in 2016, following her quick loss to Amanda Nunes, she continuously said that her days in MMA were likely over. Even more recently, she shot down any notion that she might come back to compete at the UFC's White House card. But even though she's now 38 and hasn't fought in nearly 10 years, there's no doubt a comeback would generate some serious interest. Now, let's move on to Conor McGregor predicting his fight with Michael Chandler at UFC White House. Mystic Mac has officially made a prediction for this fight. Conor went on X and wrote the following. Mystic Mac prediction: McGregor KO win, first round, UFC White House. Do you see this fight with Conor and Chandler actually happening on the White House card? Let us know in the comments below. And last but not least, the UFC released its first trailer for the Paramount era during Sunday's NFL broadcast, teasing the UFC's arrival to Paramount Plus next year. So far, there's been no details regarding who may headline the promotion's first Paramount card, but the commercial featured highlights of fighters like Ilia Topuria and Kayla Harrison, who are both eager to defend their titles. With the last quarter of the year right around the corner, hopefully we get some UFC Paramount news ASAP. Justin Gaethje deserves the title shot next. It's still not clear who and when Ilia Topuria will fight next. The way Michael Chiesa sees it, Justin Gaethje has done his part and then some to secure a fight with the lightweight champion. Ever since Topuria knocked out Charles Oliveira at UFC 317, there's been endless speculation about who his first title defense will come against. Topuria has repeatedly signaled he wants to fight Paddy Pimblett, and when he was asked about facing Gaethje, he claimed it's not a matchup fans want to see. Recently, Chiesa spoke with MMA Junkie, and while doing so, the fighter and analyst had this to say about Topuria's next fight. There are some people saying it's going to be Paddy, put some big fights together early 2026. We're not going to see Topuria in the rest of the ESPN era. I think if Ilia was going to fight in December, I feel like we'd be hearing about it by now because that's not that far away. I've heard it could be Paddy, I've heard it could be Justin. For the Justin fight, yes, it's a tough matchup for him, but worst case scenario, even if Justin wins the title, it's not necessarily a bad thing. He's one of the most beloved fighters on the roster. For me as a fighter, a big part of me feels like, you know what, give Justin Gaethje that title fight because we only have him for just this much longer. Chiesa also said this about Gaethje while making the case that he deserves a title shot. He took a huge chance when he fought Max. Whether the UFC promised him something or not, I don't know that. Nobody knows the truth except for Justin, but you know what? Just give the guy the fight. He earned it. He's earned it in blood. He has earned it through his efforts, through all he's given us and left us. He has given us things he will never get back through the course of him having this goal of entertaining us fans. So just give him the fight. It's a win-win scenario. The Paddy fight's always going to be there because those guys have youth on their side. Justin Gaethje doesn't have youth on his side. For Arman Tsarukyan, unfortunately, he's got to win one more. Robert Whittaker calls out Sean Strickland for UFC Sydney. Robert Whittaker has said that his fighting career is winding down, but that doesn't mean that Whittaker is looking to fight scrubs before he hangs up the gloves. Following the Reaper's quick submission loss to Khamzat Chimaev in October of last year, the 34-year-old acknowledged that he's planning to fight just a few more times. Before he faced Reinier de Ridder in July, Whittaker also reported he was hoping to walk away from the game at the top. But since he lost via split decision to de Ridder, another title run seems unlikely at this point. So what's next for Whittaker? Well, during a recent episode of the MMA Arcade podcast, Whittaker relayed he wants to fight Sean Strickland next.
I want to fight in Sydney next Feb.
All right.
That's what I want to fight next.
Yeah.
I'd love to fight Strickland. I've been wanting that fight for a while. I think it'd be good. I think it'd be a good fight. He always brings people to cards. I don't think he'll come all the way here to Australia, but
he's got some issues with Australia.
Yeah, I don't think he has the best rapport with the Australian government, but I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Now, given the following that both Whittaker and Strickland have, and on account of their resumes, you'd think the UFC would be on board. But as Whittaker noted, Strickland may not be overly keen on returning down under for his next fight. Tom Aspinall says he and Ciryl Gane are under pressure ahead of UFC 321. Tom Aspinall understands all too well what's riding on his upcoming fight with Ciryl Gane, but Aspinall says he's not the only one who'll be dealing with a mountain of pressure at UFC 321. Aspinall is scheduled to fight Gane in the headliner of the October 25th card, which is going down in Abu Dhabi. The fight will mark the first time Aspinall has competed since he became the unified, undisputed heavyweight champ following the temporary retirement of John Jones. Since there's still some speculation that a fight between Jones and Aspinall could finally happen next year, it goes without saying that this is a pivotal bout for Tom. But at a recent event to promote his fight with Gane, Aspinall had this to say when he was asked if he's feeling the pressure. Absolutely, but there's certain types of athletes. There's those that pressure wears them down, and there's those that shine under pressure, and I'm 100% part latter. That being said, it's not just me who's under pressure, it's his third title shot, and he failed the first two. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of pressure on me, but there's also a lot of pressure on him. There's pressure on both of us. Aspinall also added this: every fight I go into, there's pressure. I don't want to get beat up in front of millions of people. That's the biggest pressure for me. So there's always pressure. It's certainly true that if Gane loses, his path towards a title will get considerably longer. But this fight is happening at a time when many believe Aspinall is the best heavyweight in the world, and if he wins, buzz for a fight with Jones will only increase. All that aside, in a recent interview with Bloody Elbow, Aspinall also acknowledged a move to pro boxing could materialize in the future. If I get to the stage where I have cleared out the division and I've got nowhere else to go, that's maybe something I'll look at. Tom Aspinall has teased fans with some new training footage where he can be seen doing some flowy grappling with 2022 PFL heavyweight tournament champion and number 10 ranked UFC heavyweight Ante Delia. The footage of the two shows Delia getting the better of Aspinall early. However, the heavyweight champ manages to avoid conceding bottom position, scrambling his way into a takedown, which he used to secure back control. As the champ said last week, he wouldn't be surprised if Ciryl Gane winds up shooting for a takedown during their fight. From the looks of things, if the challenger does try to take things to the ground, Aspinall will be ready. Khamzat fires back. This morning, Reinier de Ridder went on MMA Junkie and revealed that he believes he is next in line for a title shot over Nasruddin Imavov. RDR said, "I don't want to wait. I want to line myself up to fight maybe before Ramadan. If Khamzat wants to fight before Ramadan, I want to be ready for that time. I want to fight right now, and the UFC wanted to keep me on the fight in Vancouver, so it worked out that way." Then, when asked about Imavov getting the title shot next, RDR said, "No, off, I'm next. We just got a new batch of Chechen guys at the gym. So I've been working a lot of my wrestling with those guys over the last couple of weeks. And of course, I'm already preparing for what the title fight is going to be like." Khamzat was quick to fire back at RDR regarding who's next for the title fight. He responded with one sentence: "Doesn't matter, same. So in Khamzat's eyes, he believes a fight with Imavov or a fight with RDR, it doesn't matter who it is. He'll win regardless.